On November 1st, 1921, John A. Lejeune, 13th Commandant of the Marine Corps, directed that a reminder of the honorable service of the Corps be published by every command to all Marines throughout the globe on the birthday of the Corps. Since that day, Marines have continued to distinguish themselves on many battlefields and foreign shores, in war and in peace. On this 237th birthday of the Corps, therefore, in compliance with the 13th Commandant, Article 38, United States Marine Corps Manual, edition of 1921, is republished as follows.
On November 10, 1775, a Corps of Marines was created by a resolution of the Continental Congress. Since that date, many thousand men have borne the name Marine. In memory of them, it is fitting that we, who are Marines, should commemorate the birthday of our Corps by calling to mind the glories of its long and illustrious history. The record of our Corps is one which will bear comparison with that of the most famous military organizations in the world's history. During 90 of the 146 years of its existence, the Marine Corps has been in action against the nation's foes. From the Battle of Trenton to Argonne, Marines have won foremost honors in war and in the long era of tranquility at home. Generation after generation of Marines have grown gray in war in both hemispheres and in every corner of the 7 seas, so that our country and its citizens might enjoy peace and security. In every battle and skirmish since the birth of our Corps, Marines have acquitted themselves with the greatest distinction, with new honors, and on each occasion until the term Marine has come to signify all that is highest in military efficiency and soldierly virtue. The highest name of distinction and soldierly repute we who are Marines today have received from those who preceded us in the Corps. With it, we also received from them the eternal spirit which has animated our Corps from generation to generation and has been a distinguishing mark of the Marines in every age. So long as the spirit continues to flourish, Marines will be found equal to every emergency in the future as they have been in the past, and the men of our nation will regard us as worthy successors to the long line of illustrious men who have served as soldiers of the sea since the founding of the Corps.
A message from the Commandant of the Marine Corps. As we pause to celebrate the 237th birthday of our Corps, we reflect on the rich legacy of service handed down to us. We recommit ourselves to the tasks at hand, and we look forward to the bright future of service to our country. Marines exist to fight and win our nation's battles. We are most proud of our well-earned reputation for answering the clarion call first. This was never more evident than at the epic Battle of Guadalcanal 70 years ago. Picked to lead the first Allied counteroffensive of the Pacific War because they were the most ready, Marines landed on 7 August 1942 in the Solomon Islands. They persevered through months of unremitting deprivation and bitter combat. By the time the veterans of the Blue Diamond, the Cactus Air Force, our legendary Marine Raiders, and initial elements of the Follow Me Division gathered together to raise a canteen and toast the birthday of their beloved Corps, it was 3 months later. The battle was no longer an issue. The situation was well at hand. Victory was answered. I salute the faithful enduring of those who have gone before and those who wear the cloth today, and of the families who stand so resolutely at our sides. Happy birthday, Marines, and Semper Fidelis. James F. Amos, General, U.S. Marine Corps, Commandant of the Marine Corps. I'm very happy to introduce to you in just a moment our guest speaker today, Lieutenant Colonel Glenn Pratt. Lieutenant Colonel Glenn Pratt, became Deputy District Commander and Deputy District Engineer of the Portland District, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on 15 August 2011. Prior to this assignment, Lieutenant Colonel Pratt served as a division engineer for the 101st Airborne Division and deployed to Afghanistan from May 2010 to May 2011 as the Director of Engineer Operations, Regional Command East. Earlier assignments included Division Engineer Plans Officer, 101st Airborne Division, and Battalion Executive Officer and Brigade Engineer Officer in the 2nd Brigade Combat Team from 2005 to 2009. A native of Richland, Washington, Lieutenant Colonel Pratt earned a bachelor's degree in psychology. That explains a lot. In 1988, from Simpson University in Redding, California, and holds a Master of Science degree in Engineering and Management from the Missouri University of Science and Technology. His military education includes the Command and General Staff College, Engineer Officer Advanced Course, the European NATO Engineer Instructor Course, the Joint Engineer Operations Course, the Sapper Leader Course, and has also graduated from Jumpmaster School, Air Assault School, and Basic Airborne School. Lieutenant Colonel Pratt is married and has 3 children. Lieutenant Colonel Pratt.
You got to stay at the mic. You got to stay at the mic.
No, not gonna do it for you. I'll stay around the mic. I hate mics. Okay, we're here to celebrate the Marine Corps birthday, and I do mean it when I say I love Marines. Master Gunnery Sergeant Bell asked me, hey, can you do the speech? And I'm like, I'm happy to. Now, I'm up here with no notes. I'm just going to talk from the heart. My first experience with the Marine Corps was back when I was Private Pratt going to airborne school, those schools you mentioned. And my stick leader, we had stick leaders run you around all over the post of Benny, and you run everywhere, was a Marine, 5. Now, I'm not sure exactly if he was, that's not a gunny at that point, is it? Nope, just a sergeant. Great guy. But everywhere you run, you got to sing cadence. So there are 13 people with stick, and they put that number there for a reason, unlucky number 13. You're running around in the stick, and you got to sing cadence everywhere you go. The whole stick goes to the bathroom. You know, if one soldier's got to go, everybody runs to the restroom right there, and they stand outside while he's doing it. Okay? So we've got our stick leader, and he's a Marine. He's calling cadence everywhere we run. And all of us are going, what the hell is that guy saying? Because we can't understand anything. We're staying in time because we're scared of him. We got no clue as to what he's saying. That was experience 1. That, and you know, explains a lot. Experience number 2. Brand new 2nd Lieutenant Pratt, who had been an infantryman. Bachelor's degree in psychology. Been an infantryman. Been jumping out of the back end of Bradley's, very high-tech, especially in 1993, high-tech vehicle for that time. Did a great job in Desert Storm. Great vehicle, still around today, doing well. So that's what I'm used to. Jumping out of the back end of that with my squad, we're ready to go. So just got pinned on, took my wife up to the Infantry Museum because she's been out in the West Coast. She finally came out to see me get pinned on. So I take her to the Infantry Museum, and we're going through the displays outside, and there are 3 Marines. They're walking kind of in front of us, and we come up to the M60 tank, predecessor to the M1. M60 came into being late 50s, early 60s, and it was a pretty good tank for its time, but it was well outdated. The M1 had just won Desert Storm and done a phenomenal job. It's an incredible piece of equipment. M60, not so much. So 3 Marines are walking in front of us. We're walking, looking at all the displays, reading the cards, and we get to the 60, and I hear one of them go, damn, it's depressing that here it is in a museum, and we're going to go right back to the base, and this is what we have to operate. Once again, it told me a lot about the Marines. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Marine Corps is part of the Navy. Usually we think of them as a separate service, and they have earned that right, but they are part of the Navy, and they are funded by the Navy, which means they get the cast-offs that the Navy is willing to give up to them. Is that an accurate assessment? Okay. They do amazing things with very little. We're here to celebrate the birthday of the Marine Corps, and you know, the last part of the scroll that was read there, Soldiers of the Sea. These are extraordinary men and women, well actually no, they're ordinary men and women who make an extraordinary commitment and become transformed by it. I've met several ex-soldiers. I've never met somebody who's an ex-Marine. There's no such thing, regardless of how long they served, whether it was a year, full 20 years or beyond, doesn't matter. Once a Marine,
always Marine, sir.
That's who they are. There are, we have representation here from all the services, and the Coast Guard too. Is part of Homeland Security, not part of the Department of Defense. Now, and my uncle retired from the Coast Guard, so I can take shots. They make an extraordinary commitment, and when you think of the Marine Corps, there are thousands of different things that come to mind, but it's always honor and integrity. Say it again, Junior.
Semper Fi.
Semper Fidelis, always faithful. Doesn't matter what you give a Marine to do, they're going to get it done. They will find a way, or they're going to die trying, and they're okay with that. They want to make the mission happen above anything else. That is a unique and rare trait in our world today. I'm proud of everybody in here who served in the military in any fashion. Less than 1% of our population in the country serves in the military. Less than 1. Stop and think about that. That's a pretty extravagant number, especially what's required of that less than 1%. The Marines are unique among that. I'm very proud of who I am. When you ask me who I am, it comes out, I'm a soldier. Now, there are certain things about that I've done different than some other soldiers that I'm very proud of. I've been an airborne company commander. I have jumped 70 times from aircraft, combat equipment, whole 9 yards at night, that. I'm proud of various things I do. I'm very, very proud of that right there. Served 7 years in the 101st. So there are distinctions I make. The Marine Corps does not make distinctions. There are only Marines. It doesn't matter whether you are a mess sergeant, whether you are an admin. The first 16 weeks of your training in the Marine Corps, you're an infantryman. Every one. They are here to fight. That's what they do. And they do a damn good job of it. I've been lucky in Iraq. I served with Marines. In Afghanistan, I actually had Marines under my command. Now, staff officer, but I had an action arm. I had the demining platoon for all of RCEs, and we ran most of Afghanistan. I had Marines in that. There is no mission that I can give them that I was worried they weren't going to get done. And I didn't have to go back and check on them and say, okay, are they doing it right? No. I knew it was going to be the standard. I knew it was going to be done correctly, efficiently, and with pride. The best thing I can say, I love my soldiers. And if I'm going to go into combat, I want my guys that I've trained. The best thing I can say about the Marine Corps is if I have to dig a foxhole and I got to have somebody else man it that's not one of my soldiers, I want to be a Marine. Because I know exactly what I'm getting. And I know that I can trust that person with my life. That's a heavy thing to say. But that is the level of competency, but more important, the level of commitment that they bring to everything they do. I'm very impressed by the Marine Corps. I love to give Master Gunnery Sergeant a hard time, but that's because I love Marines. Wherever we go, it's a joint world today. All the services are represented here today, and we go everywhere together. Some services I don't understand so much. I understand the Marine Corps because they do basically what I do. They go out, break things, and politically incorrect, kill people. That's what we do, and we do well. There are other things that we're called on to do these days, and they do them equally as well too. You always know what you're going to get with a Marine. And it is the soldiers of the sea that we are here to celebrate today. So with that, Mr. Gunnery Sergeant, I return the mic to you.
Thank you. I thought there would be blood. Sir, if you would, please. Ladies and gentlemen, it is customary at the Marine Corps birthday celebrations worldwide for Marines to cut a traditional cake in celebration of the birth of our illustrious Corps. Need our youngest and oldest Marines front and center.
You're the youngest?
The first piece of cake is given to the oldest and youngest Marines present. I'm sorry. First piece of cake is given to our guest of honor, Lieutenant Colonel Pratt. Okay. The next piece of cake is given to the oldest and youngest Marines present, symbolizing the experience and youthful spirit that are hallmarks of our Corps. The oldest Marine present today is Dave Hodges, who was, I believe, a corporal. I'm sorry, Dave? Is it a corporal?
Lance Corporal.
As you were, a Lance Corporal in the United States Marine Corps. He was born in 1955, March 11th. He enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1973. The passing of the cake from the oldest to the youngest Marine symbolizes the passing of history and traditions to the next generation. Our youngest Marine present today is Christopher McCann. I'm sorry, Chris, I didn't get your rank. What was it? Sergeant. Very good, a sergeant. He was born April 22nd, 1982, in Grand Haven, Michigan. Chris enlisted in the Marine Corps on 13 August 2001. That was a pretty big bite. Thank you, gentlemen. While the cake is being cut and passed about, we'll have a video from the Commandant of the Marine Corps.
Our forefathers made very clear that our democracy would only survive if there were individuals who were willing to give something back to this country, to be able to dedicate themselves to what this democracy and our freedom are all about. And the fact that there are young men and women who are willing to make that kind of sacrifice, to give something back to this country, is what makes America strong. God bless you, and God bless the Marines.
Since our first call to duty 237 years ago, Marines have established a reputation as bold innovators and elite warriors, anchored by our sense of honor and love of country. The service of Marines during conflict, peace, and uncertainty has demonstrated an ageless ethos of fidelity and courage that has established who we are.
The State Department confirmed the U.S. diplomatic mission in Benghazi, Libya was under attack.
An ambassador to that country was murdered last night along with 3 other Americans.
City of Benghazi, the second attack on overseas U.S.
Marine Rapid Response Team sent to Libya.
A Marine team is now making its way to Sudan to deal with the aftermath.
Marine Rapid Response Team is in Yemen's capital following the violent attacks on the U.S.
Our nation has come to understand that when a crisis occurs or security is threatened, Marines respond quickly and unfailingly. We accomplish the mission, not most of the time, but every time. This is who we are. This is our legacy.
Responding to crisis with the same tenacity of today's United States Marines, the leathernecks of our greatest generation answered the clarion call 70 years ago. Exactly 8 months after the attack on Pearl Harbor, more than 19,000 Marines and sailors landed on the Japanese-held southern Solomon Islands. The ensuing battle for Guadalcanal would begin a hard-fought and epic 6-month campaign that would mark a turning point in the Second World War.
Guadalcanal was probably one of the most important battles to really occur during World War II. It was the very first ground offensive that was going to be conducted against the Imperial Empire of Japan. The most important thing about Guadalcanal was it really did turn back the tide.
Naval parity against the Japanese had been achieved at the pivotal battles of Coral Sea and at Midway. At the time the battle for Guadalcanal and Tulagi began, Japanese forces in the Pacific remained strong, capable, and confident of victory. At the same time, U.S. forces were still in a vulnerable state, having suffered tremendous casualties in the 8 months since Pearl Harbor. In the late summer of 1942, upon learning Japanese forces were building an airfield in the southern Solomons, the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff made the decision to seize the key islands of Guadalcanal and Tulagi. Although newly arrived in the Pacific, the 1st Marine Division, under the command of Major General Alexander Vandegrift, was selected to make the critical landings.
Henderson Field was essential. It was an unsinkable flat top. Without it, we had no air defense at all.
During 1 week in late August and early September alone, some 5,000 Imperial troops landed and were thrown against the Marines' defensive perimeter. The constant attacks tested resolve, but the line was held. Marines endured not only relentless attacks from the Japanese, but also malaria, dysentery, short supplies, and the harsh tropical climate of the South Pacific.
And then the natives came in and told us that a couple thousand Japanese had landed at Tasamboko. Edson asked permission to go, and we destroyed Kawaguchi, destroyed his rear echelon. We captured his heavy weapons, and we captured all of his food stuff. We were ordered back to amphibious area where Vandegrift had his headquarters. Edson wanted to stay and tackle the tail end of Kawaguchi's brigade that was headed up toward Henderson Field.
Here at Alligator Creek, at Bloody Ridge, the Matanikaw River, and in the skies over Guadalcanal, combat legends like Lou Diamond, Merritt Red Mike Edson, John Basilone, Mitchell Page, and Harold Bauer demonstrated the grit and tenacity for which leathernecks are known.
The Marines taught us to be men, really. We were young boys. They taught us to be men and to work with each other, to accept the hardships with each other, and also any glory that there might be or anything like that. It was a tremendous help.
The total cost of the Guadalcanal campaign was high. On the ground, almost 1,600 officers and men were killed. 1,152 of them were United States Marines. The wounded numbered almost 5,000. The Japanese, in turn, lost close to 25,000 men on Guadalcanal to combat, illness, wounds, and starvation.
As significant as the physical destruction of Japanese forces by a combined arms team was, the Guadalcanal campaign was also a psychological victory for the American public. On a level playing field, the best forces of the Japanese Empire had been defeated.
As we pay homage to that victory of 70 years ago, we reflect on the personal courage and sacrifice of those who fought on Guadalcanal. Now memorialized with humble headstones and name inscriptions like these here at the American Cemetery in the Philippines, we honor and remember those who gave so much.
Guadalcanal was their last offensive action. After Guadalcanal, the Japanese were on the defensive throughout the Pacific.
Following the repulse of the Japanese counterattack early in the battle, General Vandegrift described his young Marines by saying, "These youngsters are the darndest people you ever saw when they get started." With the same spirit as the Marines of World War II, who fought for honor and for country, today's Marines, nearly all who joined since 9/11, continue to follow the colors into harm's way, knowing full well what the hardships they will endure.
We started taking machine gun fire from multiple positions. Our heavy guns, or 50 caliber Mark 19, started engaging. I was posted up into rear security, and as I was doing so, I heard some arguing going around a tall wall. I popped that corner. I shot 2 bursts, about 15 rounds apiece. I went right behind the corner to reload, and I saw a machine gun barrel come around the corner. So I grabbed it, I punched the guy, threw him up against the wall.
The combat valor, confident professionalism, and selfless commitment of today's Marines stand with any in our history. All of us in the Marine Corps family realize our role as America's premier crisis response force. We remain the first to fight. We will continue to be faithful to our nation and to one another, and never take for granted the blessed liberty our country has given us.
My service, I feel, is dedicated to those young Marines, the ones that are really putting their lives out there on the line. The 17, 18, 20-year-old that raises his right hand and says, I'll volunteer for my country.
And it's all about protecting people who need protection. And when you need support, you call the Marines, and the Marines go in and they do a phenomenal, phenomenal job.
He's chosen to become a United States Marine, and to be, you know, to choose a selfless career of service and sacrifice. I'm humbled by, you know, by that choice that he's made.
We serve, we all sacrifice. We have the eagle, globe, and anchor tattooed on our soul. In the last 10 years of war, nearly 14,000 Marines have given more. And despite their wounds, they're not done giving. They're not done living. They're thriving.
I truly believe I do more now than I did before I was injured. So minus 2 legs, I am a wounded warrior who is going to Georgetown in snowboards. And you know, those kind of things they're not quantifiable. They're just absolutely remarkable. And it's not because of me, it's because of the wounded warrior support.
Like all Marines, our wounded warriors live life to the fullest. Participating in sports, they regain their self-confidence and remember again the value of being on a team. They also continue to give back. Some return to their active units, while others succeed in business, and even more return to school. Regardless of hardships resulting from their wounds, these warriors demonstrate some of the purest qualities of Marine selflessness.
I believe every Marine from boot camp gets taught that you don't represent yourself anymore. You represent your country, you represent the Marine Corps, and you represent, most importantly, the ideals that the Marine Corps puts first.
Just remember that there's no limitations to what you can do. Those guys at Walter Reed are proving that every day. For the rest of the Marine Corps, just remember that those guys are still your brothers, and they're out there still fighting the fight every day.
As we celebrate this year's birthday, take time to reflect on all our Corps has accomplished. Remember those who fought on Guadalcanal. Honor the sacrifice of our many brothers and sisters, and remember those that have gone before. Continue to do great deeds and endure.
I'm proud to protect my country and to serve in the footsteps of those men and women who have served before me. I'm forever grateful for those who have given the ultimate sacrifice and for those men and women who still continue to sacrifice.
Our Corps will continue to be defined by our ability to successfully respond to the world's most challenging and chaotic situations. For honor and for country, we'll maintain our world-class standards of discipline, always remembering who we are. Take pride in all that you've accomplished, and know that Sergeant Major Barrett and I appreciate your enduring fidelity, your hard work, and your sacrifice. Happy birthday, Marines, and Semper Fidelis.
As you entered the room today, you may have noticed a table at the front, raised to call your attention to its purpose. It is reserved to honor our missing loved ones and our missing comrades in arms. The empty seat represents Americans still missing from each of the 5 services: Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Coast Guard. This honor ceremony symbolizes that they are with us here in spirit. Some in this room were very young when they were sent into combat. However, all Americans should never forget the brave men and women who answered the nation's call and served the cause of freedom in a special way. I would like to ask you to stand and remain standing for a moment of silent prayer. Please be seated. I would like to explain the meaning of the items on this special table. The table is round to show our everlasting concern for our missing service men and women. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when answering the call to duty. The single red rose displayed in the vase reminds us of the life of each of the missing and their loved ones and friends of these Americans who keep the faith awaiting answers. The vase is tied with a red ribbon, symbol of our continued determination to account for our missing. A slice of lemon on the bread plate is to remind us of the bitter fate of those captured and missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears endured by those missing and their families who seek answers. The Bible represents the strength gained through faith to sustain those lost from our country, founded as one nation under God. The glass are inverted to symbolize their inability to share today's toast. The chair is empty. They are missing.
I'd like to say thank you to John for doing that. I couldn't have gotten through it. And to our honor guard also. You guys are amazing, and it's amazing that you still fit in your uniforms. While I have the microphone, and I like to feel I have a couple of minutes, I want to tell one short story, which I didn't know if I was going to do this or not, but we do have a little bit of time. Most of you know I served from 1977 until 2006. Then I went to work for the Corps of Engineers, which does have Army in the first part of that, and it was difficult for me, but I swallowed a little bit of pride and came to work for the Army. In 2008, I volunteered to go over to Afghanistan just for a short little tour, mainly to make sure that Colonel Donovan got over there okay. I left him there, by the way. We went to TAC, and while you're at TAC, the deployment center, you get your uniforms, and so they handed me this uniform, and I went, oh my God, it looks like an Army uniform. So I took it up to my room, and I looked at it, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to put it on. I was hoping it wouldn't fit or something, and I could take it back, but I looked at it for a long time, and then I noticed a few little Irish pennants, so I got my scissors out, and I trimmed it up and squared it away, and I looked at it, and it still didn't look right, so I broke out my iron, and I pressed it, and then it looked a little better. I put some creases in it, and I couldn't buff the boots because they were that canvas stuff that you guys are wearing now, so that didn't work out real well. But the next day I went down, and I had my uniform on, and I was so proud of myself, and nobody even noticed. So a couple of months later, when I left Afghanistan, I had to say something to people at the going away party, and I kind of told that story a little bit. I told them that one of the hardest things that I had ever done was put that uniform on, but in all honesty, the hardest thing was to take it off. And it's still. So I've worn 2 uniforms, and I've worn them very proudly. So anyway, thank you. And I especially want to thank Lieutenant Colonel Pratt for sharing his thoughts with us today. I do have a small token of appreciation for him, so if you'd come up here, sir.
Why am I nervous? Enough to know what's coming.
I was honored to be able to present one of these to Kevin last year also, and it's my pleasure to thank Lieutenant Colonel Pratt and to give you one of our gold etchings of Iwo Jima flag raising, sir. You're very welcome, sir. You're very welcome.
Marine Corps, Corps of Engineers. There are a lot of similarities. I told you the story about the tank. So, 1993, after the basic course as an engineer officer, which there were Marines at, also at the advanced course. They're engineer officers. Run over to Germany and walk right into an A&O platoon, which is the assault and obstacle platoon. 6 tanks sitting out there that I had to sign for, M60s. So I felt some kinship for the Marine Corps at that point.
Several of our co-workers have brought in some memorabilia from their time in service, and I'd like for you all to take some time to take a look at it and thank them for their service to the Corps. And for all of you veterans, thank you very much. I'm very proud to serve with every one of you here. In conclusion, we do have one more short video.
we would like to salute all the men and women who have served in every branch of our armed forces. As the orchestra and chorus perform the Armed Forces Medley, we invite those of you in the audience who have served or are currently serving to please stand and join in as your song is presented. United States Coast Guard. United